All right. Hi, guys. Um, this week's live, I think, is going to have a little more of a somber attitude. Um, if you have not heard, our worst fears have come true. The Supreme Court has, in fact, overturned Roe v. Wade. Um, and if you've been on my live before, you saw that I spent one live, couple lives, um, discussing the implications of overturning Roe v. Wade. And it's not just, oh, I'm a second class citizen now, which really fucking sucks. It has very dire implications on the substantive due process and the right to privacy. Um, Now, when the draft opinion came out, we didn't have access to any of the other justices' concurring or dissenting opinions, but obviously we do now. And um, none of it still makes any goddamn sense. And I'll get into that a little bit later on. But what I wanted to point out for purposes of this live, if you have not read it, I highly recommend reading Justice Clarence Thomas's concurring opinion. I highly recommend you read the majority opinion, Alito's opinion, and Kavanaugh's concurrence. I don't know if Coney Barrett actually wrote a concurrence, and I encourage you to read the dissent. Um, but Clarence Thomas's concurring opinion is fucking terrifying. This whole overruling of Roe v. Wade is fucking terrifying, and not just for people with uteruses who no longer have. I no longer have bodily autonomy. And I'm not a sensationalist. I'm not, this is not an over exaggeration when people say we've lost our bodily autonomy. That is correct. That is factual. We no longer have. Let me backstep a little bit. The Supreme Court has taken away our constitutional protection over bodily autonomy, and has shoved it back to the states, which essentially allows the states to make whatever laws they want to on that issue, limiting it or completely banning it. Several states have trigger laws that went into effect as soon as this opinion came out. And we are already seeing the ramifications of that. I'm sure everybody now has heard of the little 10-year-old girl who had to leave her state to get an abortion. So it was in Ohio. She was 10. She was 10. And she was raped. And her doctor in Ohio said that he could not perform that procedure because their legislator banned it. And they did not have any kind of exception to the law. So this little girl who was raped, she was fucking 10 years old, had to go out of state to Indiana to get the procedure. And what apparently Ohio is doing now is they're going to try and prevent that. So they're going to try and pass legislation that makes helping women or girls get abortions in states where it's legal still a crime. So that's fucking awful. That's I heard somewhere, I think, that the Taliban doesn't even have like those kinds of restrictions on the Taliban, the fucking Taliban. I will try and keep my I will try not to get angry on this live, but it's getting real hard to do that. And it's getting hard to do. It is hard to do that. It's hard because this makes no goddamn sense. I have ideas of why it's happening, but the law and the opinions make no sense. And I discussed this on my last live, or on the last live that I talked about this. I pointed out all of the fallacies in Alito's opinion. I pointed out the fact that he kept referring to this as a right to abortion, and that's not what it is. He was purposefully mischaracterizing this right. It is a right to privacy. It is a privacy right. He characterizes it as not not being a traditional American value, this abortion right. And he did that purposefully, right? He's not in there, he's not in his opinion saying anything about how the right to privacy is not deeply rooted in American tradition, because it is. Like, how I don't we'll get into that. Um it is very, very clear that he is policy making from the bench, which is absolutely not what you're supposed to be doing. It's very, very clear that he is injecting his own personal beliefs and opinions into considering these legal issues, which he should not be doing. Clarence Tom and that's just Alito's opinion. Clarence Thomas took it a step further. Now, in Alito's opinion, he specifically says, "Hey, listen, this is just about abortion. This isn't about any of the other non-enumerated privacy rights. And we'll get into enumerated versus non-enumerated and substantive versus procedural due process. We'll get into that a little bit later on. But Alito basically says we're not touching any of the other opinions, Supreme Court opinions and precedent that have provided, have expanded that privacy right, right to essentially marry who you want, right to have sex however you want to have sex in your own home, right to contraceptives, right to raise your children how you want to raise your children. Essentially, privacy rights allow us as American citizens to do what we want to do, within the confines of the law, with our own lives, without government oversight. And he was clear in his opinion when he was saying that. That having been said, it was very clearly a forced concession, because the rest of the language in his opinion does not support that he's just singling out abortion. And Clarence Thomas just went, have you guys, okay, I think it was World of Warcraft. Has anybody played that? Like, or if you haven't, are you familiar with the Leroy Jenkins meme? Leroy Jenkins! Just like, okay, so World of Warcraft, for those of you who don't know, is an online game where you get an avatar and you get a group of people and you go out and like you fuck shit up, like you battle stuff. And on a team, you kind of have to like teamwork, right? Like one person can't just run headlong into just like a huge vat of like villains and just like start going ham, right? You have to like strategize and shit. So Leroy Jenkins meme was about one character that did just that. He just ran head first into like danger, and the rest of his team is just like, huh? That's Justice Clarence Thomas, in his opinion. He is just Leroy Jenkinsing himself into completely abolishing the idea of substantive due process. Okay, so I've talked about privacy rights. I've talked about substantive due process. And the reason I'm talking about that is because the way that the Supreme Court in the past has analyzed whether or not a right is a fundamental right and should be protected under the Constitution, they have to look at several factors in considering that. The rooted in American tradition, whether or not it supports the order of liberty. Those are two things they have to consider. Only if the right is not specifically enumerated in the Constitution, right? So they have to interpret the Constitution. They have to interpret kind of the context in which we are today and the framers and all that good stuff to try and figure out whether or not like the way that our founding fathers wanted this country to be run and to like exist, whether or not these potential fundamental rights are within that purview of that kind of like mentality, right? And a big part of that was analysis of the due process clause, which is, I believe, the 14th Amendment. I think I should know this. In the Constitution, it only talks about procedural due process, and that basically just says, hey, the government can't come in and like steal your shit and put you in jail, or like search your car or whatever. I mean, obviously in 1776 there were no cars, but you get what I'm saying. Without going through the processes that are in place that provide you with a chance to fight back, a chance to defend yourself. Great example. If Susie Q over here says, "Hey, that bitch stole my shit," and I'm like, "Whoa, wait!" Like the cops just can't arrest me and throw me in jail, and that's that. Like they have to read my Miranda rights. Although I guess they don't have to do that anymore, pursuant to another Supreme Court ruling. God fucking damn it. But before, they used to have to read you your Miranda rights. Sometimes they'd set bail. Sometimes, under extenuating circumstances, they'd throw you in jail until your court date. You get trial. You're entitled to a trial. If you can't afford an attorney, you are entitled to an attorney. That's due process, right? That allows you the ability to fight back if you have been accused of something or if the government is trying to take your shit, right? Procedural due process. Now, in 1905, there was a seminal case that essentially created the substantive due process. And that case, I believe, was in New York, and it had to do with it had to have been the state, because if it was just a private company, they wouldn't have gotten to court. So it had to have been the state was requiring bakers to like work like certain times. And they sued and they said, "You can't do that. You can't make us work certain times. We can work, what times we want to work. If our employers want us to work at certain times, we should be able to do that." And so in ruling on that case, the Supreme Court said, "Hey, now we've got these things called substantive due process, or this thing called substantive due process, which basically says the government cannot take away your fundamental right. They cannot do anything to impair your fundamental right." And since that case, I forgot the name of it, and I'm so sorry. My head has been going in a million different directions since this ruling came out. But since that case, the substantive due process idea has been expounded upon and expounded upon and expounded upon, and it has been kind of the basis for these other cases that have come out talking about privacy rights. Again, an unenumerated constitutional fundamental right. It's the right to privacy. Griswold. Griswold was the case. Griswold, I think it was contraceptives. Yeah, I think Griswold was the case where it was like Griswold versus Connecticut. And Connecticut was not allowing married couples to obtain contraceptives, which sounds absurd nowadays, doesn't it? Right? Well, that was back in the 1970s, you guys, 60s or 70s. That was not that long ago. And the court in that case said, "What the fuck? No, you can, if you're married, you can have contraceptives. This is ridiculous," right? Other cases, biracial marriage, sodomy, right? I forgot what that one. I think it was. It starts with an O. But essentially, in that case, the Supreme Court is like, "We don't give a shit how y'all have sex in your own homes. Like that's dumb. Like the state should not regulate that, right?" But sure as shit, that's on the chopping block, according to Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas was like, and he actually specifically named all of these cases where he's like, "We need to reconsider all of these because there's no such thing as substantive due process," which is the most absurd, ridiculous thing I've ever heard. He can't courts. Okay, so back up. There's a thing called a matter of first impression, right? And that basically just means it's a new issue. There's no supporting case law on it. There's no laws about it. There's nothing we can look at to like guide us on this. So we have to come up with a solution, right? Now, oftentimes when there is a matter of first impression, courts will look at how other courts have handled maybe similar, like similar situations, and they use those. It is very rare for a court to just be like, "I think this is the right way to go because I don't know, I'm just pulling it out of my asshole." No, they look at precedent, they look at laws, they look at treaties, they look at all kinds of things to support whatever decision it is that they're going to come to. So the fact that Clarence Thomas is just basically saying, "Oh yeah, so like that past 50 or so years worth of precedent, fuck that. I don't believe in that. Fuck that." And when I was reading his opinion, like all he cited to were his own fucking opinions. There were maybe one or two cases in there where they were somebody else's opinion, but this asshole cited to his own goddamn opinions to support his own goddamn stupid. Sorry, read it. So that's terrifying. That's terrifying because if they do look at those cases again and they come to the conclusion that substantive due process doesn't actually exist, we're fucked. I mean, we're already fucked, but like we'll be like way more fucked if that happens. I encourage you. I encourage you to read Thomas's opinion. I encourage you to read Alita's opinion. I encourage you to read the dissenting opinion, which tragically, the way that the dissent began their opinion is, I believe that's the first time I've ever seen a dissenting judge begin an opinion with, and that is to say, it is with great sorrow. That's pretty telling, right? That's pretty telling when you have Supreme Court justices who are beginning their opinion in mourning, essentially. So what do we do now? Like, what do we go? Where do we go from here? Well, we no longer have a federal constitutional protection over bodily autonomy, which means that it's up to the states. So I live in Florida. Florida currently, abortion is legal. The 15-week ban on abortion is being challenged. I don't know if there have been any injunctions, excuse me, on that law. By injunction, I mean, I don't know if courts have basically temporarily disabled, for lack of a better term, that law while the challenge is pending in court. I'm not sure. But for all intents and purposes, abortion, at least before 15 weeks, is still legal here in Florida and is a protected constitutional right. And that is because our Constitution, unlike the federal Constitution, does in fact specifically enumerate a right to privacy. And there have been several cases since that right to privacy was put into our Constitution, confirming that that right to privacy includes and encompasses the right for a woman to make medical decisions about her body, including abortion. Right. So for now, I'm fine. We're safe for the most part. And like, here's the thing. I am in one of the best positions, I think, of women across America to be able to get these services. I'm not living in poverty. I have the funds, I have the support to leave the state if I need to get that procedure done, or even to leave the country to get it done. I'll be fine. But so many other women won't be. Case in point, that 10-year-old little girl. If her parents didn't have the money to travel from Ohio to Indiana, she would have been forced to bring that little baby to term. And I don't know if her 10-year-old little body would have been able to handle that shit. Childbirth is extremely dangerous, even under the best circumstances. It's always been that way, even with advancements in medical technology. So I think what this decision, I know what this decision means is that we're gonna start seeing exoduses of people from red states, these states with these restrictions, which is not a good thing, because typically what happens when you have these exoduses is these people are going to go to states where abortion is legal, and those are usually blue states. That's not great as far, if we want to maintain a balance in this country, because what happens is when these people move to blue states, the red states stay red and purple states become red. And that means we lose electoral votes when election time comes, because now you have states that used to be blue, like Georgia. Texas, I think Texas was red in this last election, going back to red. And now we're losing those electoral votes. So that's a consequence that if I put my tin hat on, I would probably say a consequence that has been considered. What else might it mean? Deaths, increase in infant and women's mortality. More women will die in childbirth. Um, Die in childbirth or die trying to give themselves abortions. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Abortion bans don't stop abortions. They just stop safe abortions. And I know that's a talking point with a lot of, you know, progressive people. But it's true. They're saying it because it's true. They're saying it because it's statistically true. Um, what else is it going to mean? I mean, it's going to, again, putting my tin hat on. I think it's going to open the door to attacks on other rights. Obviously, you know, I began this whole live saying Clarence Thomas is all about getting rid of that substantive due process thing, and all about getting rid of a whole bunch of other privacy rights, except, by the way, except the right to marry a black person or a white person. I guess that makes sense because he's married to a white woman. So I think this ruling is going to open the door to attacks on other fundamental rights and other privacy rights. That doesn't just impact people with uteruses. This is going to impact everybody in the country. And yet, there are still people who are celebrating this. There are still people who support this decision. And it is mind-boggling to me. And before I get into their arguments on this, I'll catch up on some comments. What we got? Okay. Hey from Canada. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey, Paul. Your body, your right. There's always exceptions, especially when it's a child. Okay, David, I see that. I'm going to respond to that in a bit. Yeah, it's fucked up. Royal bot, I agree. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Clarence Thomas is, on it, I don't, the 50s weren't great for black people. They were not great. Not a great time. I don't know. I mean, I don't think he's dumb. I don't think he's stupid. I think he's smart. So I think in being somebody who is not stupid, he's probably got some sort of agenda that he's trying to follow. I just don't see it. I don't see it, and I see a great danger in him going down this path. But you know, I'm not as smart as he is, so who knows? Article 4, Section 1. Hold on. I have a copy. Article 4, Section 1. What we got? Are you talking? I assume you're talking about the Bill of Rights. Article 4, Section 1. States, full faith and credit shall be given in each state to the public acts, records, and judicial proceedings of every other state. And Congress may be, or I'm sorry, and the Congress may by general laws prescribe the manner in which such acts, records, and proceedings shall be proved and the effect thereof. So, okay, so it looks like what you're trying to say is that that states should, by the Constitution, respect other states' laws. I don't know, and I get that. That's a great point, but I don't know how that interplays when a resident of one state leaves that state to go to another state and get a procedure that is illegal in that state. Now, obviously, that person who has left that state and going to another state can't be prosecuted in the state that they got the procedure in. I think what's going to happen is once they return to their home state, that's when they're going to be prosecuted. So I don't think that clause is going to save people who return to their state. I mean, obviously, if these people just move, you know, permanently to a state where that procedure is legal, they're not gonna have to worry about it. It's when they return. So, all right. There's an injunction in place, but it's under appeal. Unfortunate. I hate people. Yeah, people are gonna die. Yeah, no, yeah. People are gonna die. People are gonna die. Babies are also gonna die. Like actual viable babies that come out of the chute, they're gonna die. It's dumb. All right, let's see. Especially mothers' deaths within the marginalized. Absolutely. Black women, people of color, women of color, they have historically always gotten less medical care. Their medical care has historically not been as good as medical care provided to white women, and because of that, there will be more deaths for black women and for women of color, for sure. Light reading. I highly suggest y'all pick yourself up a copy of it and read through it. And read through your own state's constitution if you're here in the States. Become familiar with it. All right, so David, I'm going to go back to your comment where you say, your body, your right. There's always exceptions, especially when it's a child. Okay, so I'm interpreting that, and correct me if I'm wrong, to say that when the life of a child is implicated, there should be exceptions to limiting a woman's ability to abort. And again, correct me if I'm mischaracterizing that. Here's my response, if that is in fact what you're saying. So, and that actually, that's a great segue into the arguments supporting these abortion bans. The primary argument being, and this is, by the way, an argument that's being from lay people, right? You're not seeing this argument from, I guess you're seeing it from politicians, but it's not a legitimate argument. And that argument is, well, we must save the life of the child. We must save the life of the unborn child. And I remember last time I talked about this, I got into when life begins, when life ends, conception, blah, 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 blah. And I've come to realize none of that fucking matters. It doesn't matter when life begins. It doesn't matter if the child is aborted after it has left the mother's body. Although I guess in that stage, like, it wouldn't matter. But it doesn't matter if the child is aborted in the 24th week or something, when it is almost a fully formed human. Does not matter. Why doesn't it matter? Because there is zero precedent in this country. There are zero laws in this country requiring one person to sacrifice any part of themselves or to put themselves at risk for the benefit of another human being. It's called bodily autonomy. There's not a single fucking law in this country requiring, I'm going to say it again, requiring you to put yourself at risk for the benefit of another human being. Not even cops are required under the law to put themselves at risk to save another human being, at least in Florida. Okay? That means that before this was overturned, I had no obligation to bring a child to term because it puts me at risk, both bodily, I mean, like physically puts me at risk, and it puts me at risk financially. Before this was overturned, I had zero obligation to do any of that. I have zero obligation to, like, if somebody is dying of like kidney failure, nobody can force me to donate my kidney to that person. If somebody is dying of blood, of some sort of blood disease or blood cancer, and they need a transfusion, I am under no obligation to provide that person with a drop of my blood. Not a drop. In fact, they can't even harvest your organs after you're dead without your express written consent. So the idea, this argument that no, we have to give this unborn baby has an equal right to life. Sure, but not at the expense of somebody else. Right? And that's where it is. It's like, yeah, sure. And that's a very sexy talking point. This innocent child has an equal right to life. Their life matters just as much as yours does. Sure. I mean, if for argument's sake, if I agree with you on that, that is an apple. Now the orange is that I have no obligation to bring that child to term because it puts me at risk. Apples and oranges. So that is why I say that when life begins is irrelevant. The life of the unborn child is irrelevant under the current laws of this country. And that means that any laws banning abortion will be the first of their kind in this country, requiring somebody to put themselves at risk for the benefit of another human being. Um, I think really that's the only argument that I've seen for this. I have not seen, and y'all, I mean, if you have other arguments supporting um, these abortion bans, let me know. I think the only one that I've seen is that it saves the life of an unborn child. Now I've seen some other really, really terrible, terrible, terrible talking points from people who are what they call pro-life, and who I call now pro-forced birth. I'm not holding back any punches now. I'm pretty mad. Um, one of those arguments is, well, you should have kept your legs closed. You should have kept your legs closed, and that is in response to the argument against abortion bans where there are no exceptions. So, for example, you know, we got to save the life of the child. Um, the counterpoint is, well, what about the life of the mother? So then the counterpoint from less extremist people are, okay, yeah, so we make an exception for the life of the mother. Well, what about rape? Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Well, we make an exception for rape. Blah, blah, blah. But there are some people who don't. There are some people who are like, nope, doesn't matter. It's a life. A life is a life is a life is a life. I don't care under what circumstances you created this life. Life is a life is a life is a life. And those are the people that are saying you should have kept your legs closed. Okay. Okay. We'll do that. See how long that fucking lasts. Yeah. We'll keep our legs all the can you imagine? Can you imagine? Can you imagine all of the women in this country abstaining from sex indefinitely? Can you imagine that? So I'm almost like, okay, yeah, sure. That's a great idea. That's a great idea. We'll do that. We'll keep our legs closed. We will have zero sex with men ever, or at least until this is overturned. And I'm honestly, I kind of want to make shirts about it. Just like, all right, I'm just not gonna have sex anymore. So clearly, that's a real dumb argument. I mean, it's hilarious, and I kind of support it, but it's dumb. It's dumb because I am 5'1". I weigh maybe 100 pounds soaking wet, and while I am a trained second-degree black belt, I am under absolutely no kind of guise that I will ever be able to defend myself against a man who is bigger than me. I am the size of a 12-year-old child. Like, of course I'm not going to be able to defend myself against a man who tries to attack me, right? I mean, if I am lucky and I have some kind of weapon and I can, I don't know, pop his eyeballs out, like bite his eyelids and rip his ears off to buy myself enough time to get away, maybe that'd be great. But that is unfortunately the reality for most women. Is most women are not as strong as their male counterparts and have their legs forced open when they're raped. So that argument, you should keep your legs closed, is really stupid on a whole lot of different levels. I actually saw a TikTok from this one woman. I disown her. She's no longer. I'm just like, no. You're give me your woman card back, please. She goes. It's your fault if you get pregnant. You knew the risks of having sex. I mean, she's been dragged through the mud since she posted this video. I'm surprised it hasn't been taken down yet. But it's like, so the first problem with that is what I just discussed. The second problem with that is, y'all, it's not just, it takes two to tango, right? It takes two to tango. And here's the other thing you got to think of. Women can only get pregnant like at certain times and not very like I think we have to wait like a whole ass month while we're ovulating to be able to get pregnant. We don't have that many eggs. Like when we're born, we have a set amount of eggs, and then all throughout our lives as they get sloughed out of our body during our periods, we lose them. That's not the same for men. Men have sperm, lots of sperm, and I don't think they ever stop creating sperm. So a woman can get so many women pregnant. And it seems backwards to me to put all the responsibility on the woman to try and prevent the pregnancy from happening. And I mean, you look at that in society, we have so many different kinds of birth control, all of which, by the way, are awful. Awful. I have tried many different kinds. I've tried the pill, I've tried the NuvaRing. Right now I'm on the IUD. and they all have fucking awful side effects. Like when and no, we're not gonna get it. But like when I had the IUD and put in, um, I did not stop bleeding for an entire goddamn month. And my emotions were up and down, my hormones were out of whack, and I mean, it took a month for me to get acclimated to this thing. Um, and I think that it would behoove this society to consider maybe I'm not gonna say placing more of the responsibility on the dude to like make sure this shit doesn't happen. Um, but like maybe we should consider like thinking about both of the parties, right? Because without one of the parties, there's no baby. So both of them are equally kind of necessary for the creation of the baby. And I think that it would behoove us to kind of come at it at a more balanced way, in a more balanced way. Um, what are the other arguments what are the other like talking points that I've seen? I had it all written down. It's all downstairs though, and it was like I was writing it in like a fit of rage. So there are lots of expletives in my little outline. But those two are the ones that really kind of popped out. Were save the life of the child, keep your legs closed, um, putting all the onus on the woman to prevent it. And I mean, here's the thing: like one of the reasons this is so terrifying is that like somebody can do all the things right. Like somebody can they can have their partner wear a condom. They can have birth control. They can do the deed, in a time where the woman is not ovulating. Like they can do all the things right and still turn up pregnant. And that's when it's really scary because some of these states are going to force that woman to bring that baby to term. And there's all kinds of negative implications to that if they were not anticipating having a baby or if they were not prepared to have a baby. Um, oh, that was the other argument. So people are like, well, put it up for adoption. Put it up, I'll take the baby. Give me your baby. Give me your baby. I'll take the baby. That's all well and good. And like, good on you for wanting to adopt. Sure. Like, that's great. Our foster system is fucked up. Fucked up, our foster system. So if you want to do that, like, do it. Do it. In fact, I encourage you to. That's very pro-life of you to adopt a child and take care of that child. However, that does not address the whole pregnancy part, right? Um, Adoption is for preventing a parenthood. Abortion is for preventing the pregnancy, which in and of itself has all kinds of very dangerous complications. Um, so and talking a little bit more, and I'm sorry, I'm a little less organized as I usually am because I'm it's been a roller coaster, I'll tell you. So I'm not as organized as I usually am. But I used to be a volunteer at the Guardian Ad Litem, and for those of you who don't know what that is, it is essentially um, a state-funded organization that helps facilitate children moving through the foster care system. There are case managers, there are social workers, there are attorneys, they're not judges, but they're, everything that kind of system needs to be able to work. And I did not volunteer as an attorney. I was in law school at the time, so I basically was like a case manager person, like a social worker. And it was my job. Now, first of all, when you start to volunteer for these things, they ask you if you have a preference in dealing with children who are young or children who are a little bit older, infants, that kind of thing. And at first, I was like, yeah, no preference. I'll do whatever you guys need me to do, I'll go do it. And the first like group of kids that I got, very diverse. There was like a 14-year-old, there was like a 10-year-old, there was like a 1-year-old, there was like a 2-year-old. And these children all had one thing in common, and that was that they all had dead eyes. I looked into these children's eyes and there was nothing. And it was heart shattering. It was heartbreaking. I remember one little boy whose mother, I don't remember, I believe she tried to get an abortion, but like her boyfriend, her baby daddy was like, no, I want the kid. And of course, as soon as she had the kid, he fucking booked it. He left her. So she had no support system. Um, Her family lived out of state. She was not in a good financial position to have a child. She was barely able to scrape by herself. And it threw her into a drug and alcohol addiction, and she became abusive. She beat the shit out of that kid. Beat the shit out of that kid. He was like from the day, well, not the day he was, but like from 1 year old to the time when he was taken away from his mother, he got beat the shit out of. I saw pictures of him with bruises all over his little body. Just heartbreaking. And he came away from that. He had a psychological issue, probably because of all the trauma. And he was in the foster care system until his grandparents, who lived out of state, came into the picture, and they didn't want him. They didn't want him. I talked to them about it, actually. And I said, this kid literally has nowhere else to go. I'm not trying to guilt you at all. I'm just trying to provide you with the facts. Like, this kid literally has nowhere else to go. If you choose not to take him, then he's going to go back into the foster care system until he ages out. Now they did take him. But can you imagine? Your mom beats the shit out of you. She didn't want you to be born to begin with. Beats the shit out of you. You're put into the foster care system, and now your grandparents don't fucking want you. Like, I don't know. If I were that kid, like, and somebody was like, "Would you have rather not been born?" I would have been like, "Fuck yeah, hell yeah." Similarly, 14-year-old girl in the foster care system was sexually abused by her own father. Thankfully, she didn't get pregnant. But like that, I don't know. The foster care system is not the answer. It's not. Contraception is the answer. Abortion in certain circumstances if contraception fails or if somebody is raped. I wish I knew what, I think one of the things that's really bugging me with this is, well, one, I don't have bodily autonomy anymore. That sucks. But two, is I don't, there has been no cogent reason for doing this other than the talking points. Save the life of the child. And now, Alito and Thomas essentially suggesting that the substantive due process never existed in the first place. So all of these cases and this system that has been developed over the course of a century apparently doesn't fucking matter anymore, which is so ironic to me because Alito spent so much time attacking the idea of stare decisis, which basically just means reliance on case precedent. That's literally how it works. That's how it works. Remember in the beginning, I was saying that it is very rare for a court to have a matter of first impression. Even rarer that they just, I don't even know of a situation where they were just like, I think based on my own opinion that this is going to be the thing. No, they look at other shit. They look at laws. They look at other cases. They look across the sea. That I had a case had to do with riparian rights. Riparian rights are, they have to do with property rights of like water, like coastlines. And the case that I was reading was like, we don't really have any like controlling case precedent in this state on this issue. So we're going to look back to England and see how the King of England dealt with this shit, right? They always look to something. They always have something to look at. And the fact that Alito attacked that very process is mind-blowing to me. Like, I don't understand. And it was even more mind-blowing that the majority of the things that Clarence Thomas relied upon in coming to this decision that he came to were his own goddamn opinion. He was using his own stare decisis, which is like, bruh. You were wrong to begin with. You continue to be wrong. This is why you only ever write concurring opinions. I mean, he's written, I'm sure, some majority opinions, but he usually just writes concurring or dissenting opinions because nobody wants to hear what you have to say, motherfucker. Anyway. So that was heavy. And I apologize for, I am not as chipper as I usually am, which has made it difficult for me to make new content. And I really apologize for that. I am, hopefully, when this issue becomes less of an explosion in like the media, because I mean, one of the problems is like just practically speaking, my FYP page on TikTok is just all Roe v. Wade. That like all Roe v. Wade. I cannot escape Roe v. Wade on my FYP, and my FYP is what I usually use to get inspiration and music and sounds and that kind of stuff. So, ugh. I guess we'll have to wait until that kind of cools down, and then I can pivot my mind away from this and start working on happier content. But yeah, sorry if it's my dog. He's barking. I'm sure there's somebody outside, and nobody else can exist on this earth. They're not allowed, according to him. So we'll pivot a little bit. We'll talk about something a little less heavy. Last time, and actually, hold on, let me catch up on some comments here. Okay. That is true. Paula Blonde about rapists. Actually, so shortly before I went on vacation, the spooky tour, I was listening to a lot of true crime podcasts. Why? I don't know. I just got into it. They're more disturbing than ghost stories because they really happen. And a lot of these podcasts, the hosts will actually give you like tips, tricks, hints, and stuff like that on how to avoid essentially getting raped and murdered. Because I'll tell you, most of these true crime podcasts, the stunning majority of these, like 95% of these podcasts, are about the rape and murder of women and girls. It is very rare that I come across a true crime podcast that has to do with the murder of a man or a boy. So a lot of these podcasters are like, all right, so carry a weapon. And I bought a couple of weapons while I was on vacation. They're really cute. They're very cute little weapons. They're shaped like cat heads. They're like metal, but the ears are like knives. And the ones that I happen to get happen to have bottle openers on them. So like after you kill your attacker, you can crack open a cold one. So be armed, have something, spray, a knife, a gun if you've got guns. I have guns. I just need to get my carry permit, which I will be doing soon. In fact, I'm actually trying to do it this week. Got a little Smith and Wesson. I'm not gonna show them off here on YouTube because right now the live is public and I don't know. I've not researched their guidelines about like, showing off weapons. But I have them, and sure as shit, I'm going to get my carry permit. Because apparently, Supreme Court cares more about guns than my body, which is fine, because now I can use that to protect my body myself, so it's fine. But one of the things they were saying is that if somebody's stalking you, like somebody's following you, you turn the fuck around and you confront that motherfucker. In fact, better yet, you put them on camera. And you tell them not only, hey, I'm recording you, because they can just take your phone and then delete it. You can say, even if you're not on live, you are on live stream right now. You're on live stream right now, which means that even if they take your phone away, there's nothing they can do because now people have seen it. Now people know that you are in a position to where you might be hurt. And that they don't like that, right? They're not going to challenge that. You're not an easy target. They're gonna find somebody else who is an easier target. Now, obviously, like somebody like me, I'm not going to turn around and just be like, "Motherfucker, why you follow me, folk?" Without having a plan B, either a weapon or somewhere to like if I like see a shop or something to like run into. Like I'm not just going to turn around and confront somebody if I don't have a plan B. But that is a good way to deter people from attacking you, is to confront them. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. So organ donation is actually kind of like the baseline over in the UK, and you have to opt out of it. I like that. It's actually kind of cool. For me, I use that as an example, just like to kind of prove the point that corpses have more rights than I do right now. And shit, I don't give a fuck what you do with my body after I'm dead. I'm dead. I don't care. So that whole like organ donation, like consent to like donate organs, like it's kind of dumb. Like to me, like I'm just like whatever. But that's cool. That's cool that in the UK that's kind of a given that like they can use your body parts that you are no longer using to help save the life of somebody else. That's cool. What about the cases where the quality and or length of that life is compromised? Okay. Let me just see if you're responding because what about the cases where the quality and or length of the life of that life? I are I assume you're talking about the mom, the woman's life. Um and if what you're saying is that there should be exceptions to these bans to protect the life, the quality of life of the mother, I agree. I mean, I don't think there should be bans in the first place. Um, but yeah, I mean, if she is unable physically, financially, emotionally, psychologically to bring another human life into this world and care for that life, then she shouldn't be made to do it. So, irate. Oh, the unborn baby. Wait, the life of the unborn baby. What about the quality and or length of the life of the unborn baby? I would argue that if the baby is in the womb, how do you measure the? I'm not sure. I don't have an answer to that question. Um, if the fetus life is compromised. Okay. Well, actually, okay. So if I'm understanding this correctly, um, you're asking about whether there should be exceptions to abortion bans to save the life of the fetus. Wait, no, that makes no sense. Hold on. Let me think this through. What I will say is that there are circumstances where you have like um, where the fetus dies within the mother, and so the mother would be forced to give birth to a stillborn child. There are circumstances where, oh, actually, I just saw a TikTok on this where this mother passed a genetic, um, what's the word I'm looking for? What is the word I'm looking for? It's gone. Disorder, genetic disorder, to her little girl. And they did not know what had happened until it started to manifest itself when this little girl was like 3 or 4. And what this disorder it was a terminal disorder. She called it like children's Alzheimer's or something. Essentially, this little girl is now going to be doomed to die a very painful, slow death. Um, and what she was saying is like, I never ever want to bring another child onto this earth who is going to have to go through what my little girl is having to go through right now. And that makes all the sense in the world to me. Um, I think that consideration should be given to the quality of life that this unborn child is going to be coming into, because I think that makes, I don't know, it just makes way more sense to me to potentially prevent a life of suffering than allowing that life of suffering to continue. And I get the argument that, well, they should be given a fighting chance. They should be given a fighting chance. Unfortunately, most of the babies that this is going to affect are babies that are going to be born into poverty. So they're not going to have a fighting chance. That whole idea of being, pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, that is no longer the case in this country anymore. You can't do that anymore. Under very rare circumstances, you can, but for the most part, you can't. And for the most part, these children who are going to be brought into these situations where they're in poverty, it is very, very, very unlikely that they're going to have a chance at a life that they're actually good, that is going to be a good quality life. Just that's the long and short of it. Um, the viability of the fetus outside the mother's body is what. Oh, gotcha. Yep. Yeah. So I hope I answered. I hope I try to answer your question. So words are hard sometimes for me. But yeah, I mean, I this decision, there were just so many things about, And the way that this court did it was so dismissive. It was so dismissive. It was just like, it's up to the states now. That's all and like if you look at Brett Kavanaugh's concurrence, that's essentially what he says. I am neutral on whether or not abortion is good or bad, morally speaking. I just think that it should be the state's decisions. It's like, bitch, first of all, you are so not neutral. The entire reason you were appointed to the Supreme Court by Orange Duckman was because you did not support Roe v. Wade. Of course you're not neutral. So there was very little consideration by the court, I think, on the ramifications of what this decision was going to do. And here's what's interesting is, again, like my entire FYP is just full of abortion shit. And I love it. I mean, I love it and I hate it. I hate it because it's like, just stick that knife and twist it just every fucking day that you want to get onto social media. But I love it because I'm seeing all kinds of different diverse views about it. I mean, mostly because of, my political leanings, I'm seeing the progressive views on it. But I try and, broaden, my social media and the information that I get to differing views. I do not want to live in an echo chamber. That is absolutely what I don't want to do, because I think that has been a real big problem in this country for a long ass time. Is people just live in these echo chambers and they get themselves riled up living in these echo chambers. And what happens is they don't know or refuse to know what the other side of the story is. I mean, as a lawyer, it is literally my job to know intimately what the other side of the story is, so I can make arguments against it. But like, it is imperative. I think it's imperative to know the other side of the story. And that is why I kind of come from this thinking that the primary argument supporting anti-abortion forced birth is to save the life of a child. And again, you know how I think about that. I think it's dumb. I don't think it makes any sense given the legal scheme in our country right now, or the scientific scheme. Science. Anyway, so that's that, and it's not over. I mean, the Supreme Court. I think that Thomas's concurring opinion has opened the door for challenges on those other cases. So I think that's what we're going to see in the future. We're going to see challenges to Griswold. We're going to see challenges to, it's not Oglethorpe. It's another, it's the one, it's the sodomy one. We're going to see challenges to biracial marriage again. This country is still fucking racist. It's still racist. And I saw this TikTok, and again, this could be just like putting my tin hat on, but it kind of made sense. So I've seen a couple of arguments from the left that I don't agree with. There are lots of arguments from the left I don't agree with. And I'm starting to really, I'll tell you something. I voted for, I don't like talking about politics usually, but for purposes of this, I think it's necessary. I did vote for Biden. Knowing full well that he was not the candidate that I wanted, but I did the thing where I was like, anybody but Trump, which is a terrible way to vote. And I'm real mad at him, real freaking mad at he and the rest of the Democrats for just sitting on their ass for 50 years, even though they knew this shit was coming and they didn't do anything. They could have codified it and they didn't. So I have been failed by both, by the entire government, both systems, both parties. It really sucks. Anyway, that was a tangent. But what I was trying to say was, I saw this video that's kind of tin hatty. It's kind of conspiracy theorist. That was talking about what she believed the real rationale for starting these rollbacks was. And before I get into what she said, I'm going to go into some of the things that I've heard from other progressives. First of all, some of them seem to think that this is a way to get white women to have more babies. I mean, it's a way to get women to have more babies, but unless you start sterilizing Black women and people of color, Black women are people of color. Unless you start sterilizing them, you're going to have an increase of all of the babies, all colored babies. In fact, because the white population here in the United States is on the decline, you're probably going to see more POC babies with these laws. which I know is not something our racist government really wants, right? So that's a dumb argument, and I don't think it's actually the case. Um, the other argument is that this is a way for the Supreme Court to get more uneducated, poor labor force, right? So I have so many friends, so many great friends. I have a spirit animal friend who's actually in town, and I'm going to see her tomorrow. I'm very excited. Who are in the military, and all of them, without exception, join the military to get away from being poor. This spirit animal friend that I have lived in a double wide for the majority of her life, where she had to take control, and she did like she was a 10-year-old and she was doing finances with her aunt living in this double wide. Like, she joined the military to get an education because otherwise she would not have been able to afford it. And I mean, a lot of people join the military for that reason. And the theory is that with putting the decision, with giving the authority to the states to decide whether or not abortion is a protected right. Obviously, you have several states that don't think it is, and they're going to ban it. You're going to have an increase in babies, maybe if they don't die. No, that was dumb. I shouldn't have said that. But you're going to have an increase in babies. You're going to have an increase in babies. And the idea is that because these babies are going to be born into poverty, they're not going to have the same opportunities to get an education as others, and they're going to go into the military. Very tin hatty. I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, I can see how maybe, but I don't. That's very tin hatty. That's very conspiracy theory. I'm not saying, I'm not discounting it. I mean, I can see where it can make sense, but I don't think that's the case. The other argument, finally getting to this one woman, who also disagreed. She's like, I doubt that they're doing this to get more people into the workforce. That's dumb. And they're not doing it to have more white babies, because that's also dumb. That's missing that's missing the very, very big point that there are more there are more people of color in this country than there are white people, and this law equally applies to them. But what this woman was saying was that it is and has been always about giving more power to the states. If y'all remember, that was how Civil War happened. like the entire South tries to secede from the Union so that they could have slaves, right? And not be bothered about it. And over the course of time, more restrictions and more restrictions were placed on states in how they regulated their citizens, right? And they don't like that. They don't like that because they want to do things their way. And a lot of the times the way that they want to do things is very nefarious, like slavery or control over women. So that one made the most sense to me. Is you've got a political party that has always been anti big government. The irony is not lost on me with this ruling, by the way. But only if it benefits them, right? Like, obviously, when you've got like a bunch of rich white people, they're not going to want to be controlled by the government, right? Like, that's their entire thing. Keep your grubby government hands off of my finances, my taxes, my body, my property, blah 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 blah. However, when it comes to cheap labor, slavery, I guess, they're all for it. They're all for that kind of stuff. But that's very tin hatty. It's very conspiracy theory, and I have not very eloquently like expressed these conspiracy theories. I know, again, words are hard right now, and my mind is kind of scattered. But that those are the theories that we're seeing coming out: is more white babies, more babies in general to get into the labor force, and giving power back to states that want to reinstitute slavery. Who the fuck knows? I guess we won't know, and we will know with time, I'm sure. It was very scary, but anyway, let's stop talking about that, because I wanted to show. I finally found that one video of the ghosty that I caught while we were at the Sorrel Weed House in Savannah. I thought I'd lost it, but I found it again. So come back to the indentured servant status with him. Paul. Yep. Yep. And that's good. I like Daniel. So yeah. I mean, I wish there was. I guess I could be an independent. I don't. I'm not really digging the Democratic Party right now. There are some people within the party that they've got their head screwed on, right? But I'm not a big fan of having my rights taken away. I'm not a big fan of my party just sitting on their freaking asses for 50 years and allowing it to happen. Sucks. But anyway, let's talk about ghosties. Okay, so how do I get out of this? I'm not sure how I'm gonna show this to you. I probably just put the phone up to the camera and just kind of okay. So I took this video. There you go. Okay, so I'll speed up once we get to the good part. But we're going on in the basement. You look up. That's the light source up there. Okay, and that's going to be important later on. So we're going downstairs. See those two pillars there? Those are for the stairs. Keep an eye on those. Okay. So, and that was an orb, by the way, that you guys just saw. Okay, so I'm gonna fast forward now to this. This is when we first went down. The tour group is now kind of gathering around the tour guide. I'm off on my own idiot self, like just going around the basement by myself, taking these videos. So there's nobody around me. Everybody is all gathered in one corner. I'm wandering around. Everybody has come downstairs. Nobody else has come downstairs. Okay. Oh, this is so creepy. All right. So this is going to be fast. Keep an eye on the pillar and specifically look at the shadow of the stair banisters that's being cast by the red light above. You ready? Here we go. Did you guys catch it? I'll go back. All right. If you guys missed it, I'll do it one more time. It's gonna. I don't know really how to slow it down a little bit, but I'll do it one more time. Again, watch the pillar and watch the shadow on the pillar. So creepy. I didn't see that until after I got back to the hotel and I was checking back through the footage and I was like, oh my god. Super creepy. And in the beginning of the video, it actually I could see that same, so the shadow is being cast also on the floor, and that happened on the floor too, but I can explain that away because I think somebody was walking like in front of the light to them on the floor. But sure as shit, no one was walking up the stairs when I was taking that video. Oh my god, creepy. So that was the other cool. And the first one I think I had already posted on Patreon, and that was the like cloudy boy. That guy right there. Let's see if we can. There we go. And it kind of doesn't that kind of look like shoulders to you? I don't know. I could be reaching. Looks like shoulders to me. And sure as shit, that was not there seconds before when I took the other two photos. Again, I posted on Patreon. So for those of you who didn't know, when we went to the Swirl Weed House, our tour guide said, all right, when you're taking pictures, make sure you take 3 in quick succession. So just like boom, boom, boom. Because what that'll give you is essentially like a baseline, like a control factor. You're talking about science, pseudoscience. So that was the only photograph in the little burst that I took where that cloudy boy showed up. And I don't have any way to explain it. It doesn't look like a reflection. It doesn't look like a trick of the light to me, anyway. I haven't had it reviewed by like actual professional, ghosty hunters. I might, but yeah, super cool. Very, very, very cool. Yeah, Casper wanted to be the tour guide. Daniel, is it legally possible to impeach a justice? It is. It is, in fact, legally possible, and there have been calls to do so to the three Trump appointees for what they claim was lying under oath during the congressional hearing where they were being prior to being sworn in as a justice. Specifically, the allegation is that all three justices said, "We are not going to overturn Roe." However, and I'll finish that thought. So, if in fact they lied under oath, they have committed perjury, which is a felony. And under those circumstances, I'm pretty sure that they would actually, I don't know if it's in the Constitution talking about like impeachment. Hold on, I'll look it up. Impeaching a justice. Let's see, impeachment, removal of judges. Yeah, I think this was the one that I found. Yeah, this was the one that I found. Article. It was written Brennan Center for Justice. All right, let's see. All right, it says, what is judicial impeachment? Judicial impeachment is a process by which the political branches of government, usually the legislature, can remove judges from office. Let's see. It's very uncommon to impeach judges. I think only 5 maybe, have ever been impeached. All right, here you go. What conduct constitutes grounds for impeachment? And I'm going to read directly from the article. The United States Constitution provides little guidance as to what offenses constitute grounds for the impeachment of federal judges. As with our government officials, judges may be removed following impeachment and conviction for treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. Otherwise, under Article 3, Section 1, judges, quote, shall hold their offices during good behavior. And it goes, this article, and actually, let's see if I'll post it in the chat so you guys can go take a look at it if you want. There you go. Okay. So high crimes and misdemeanors. I mean, I would think perjury would be one of those. So I mean, if they did in fact lie under oath, I'd say that was a pretty solid basis to try and impeach them. However, I don't think they did lie under oath. I think that they were sufficiently vague in how they answered those questions of whether or not they were going to overturn Roe v. Wade, enough to protect them from accusations against actual lying. Like, for example, Amy Coney Barrett was asked whether or not she believed Roe v. Wade was what's called a super precedent, which basically means something that is going to be very difficult to overturn. And she basically said no, she didn't believe it was a super precedent. Similarly, both Gorsuch, I don't know how you pronounce motherfucker's last name, and Kavanaugh were both very vague on how they answered that question. They both acknowledged that there was precedent, but neither of them said that they were going to respect that and not challenge it, nor did they say that they were not going to overturn it. So like just, point blank. So if impeachment proceedings do go forward against those judges on those bases, I think that it will not go anywhere. And to be honest with you, I think it will actually be worse for the Democratic Party. I think that we need to choose our battles very carefully, which is the same reason I fucking hate it when the Democrats attack like Republican candidates or Republican senators or congressmen or other politicians on the basis that they have, with Brett Kavanaugh, he, sexually assaulted somebody in high school or something, or college. It's like, yeah, he's a piece of shit, but shut the fuck up. Like, it's really, like, of all the things, that's what you're going to attack. You're not going to attack his track record for ruling on in an extremely conservative way. Like, that's dumb, and it detracts from what you're trying to do. So, What was I going to say? Oh, okay. So yeah, we were talking about impeachment. So do I think that they can be? Yes, they can be impeached. Will they? Probably not. Now there have been calls to impeach Justice Clarence Thomas. Under I don't know under what basis they would, other than they just don't agree with his ruling. I think that his opinion that substantive due process is not only dangerous but not supported at all by any kind of. I mean, he cites some stuff, but it's a reach. It's a huge reach. Unfortunately, he cannot be impeached for having stupid opinions. Unfortunately. So yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen. Don't know what's gonna happen. Um, Roe v. Wade is overturned. I don't know if we can reverse that. But what we can do is we can pass a law that does protect a woman's right to make medical decisions about her body. So hopefully that happens. We'll see. I guess. But in the meantime, what else has been going on? Not a whole lot. Well, yeah, I mean, like a whole lot. But we just spent over an hour discussing all that. Let's talk about happier stuff. The ghosties were pretty cool. I'm totally going back to Charleston for sure. Charleston is so beautiful, and I did not have enough time there to explore like all of the city. The houses were beautiful. The food was delicious. The hotel that we stayed at was amazing. I cannot wait to go back. Also, I am planning a trip to New Orleans, hopefully this year, maybe, fingers crossed. Probably at the end of the year, like December. And I'm looking up some hotels for New Orleans. I cannot wait. Where else do I want to go? I'd like to go up to like Maine and Massachusetts. That'd be really cool. But yeah. So hopefully, if we do end up going to New Orleans, I for sure will take pictures. I will share with you all the stories. And yeah, that would be a lot of fun. What else? Yeah, I got nothing else. Okay, well, I mean, so I obviously I'm still in mixology and cocktails and stuff more so now than I had been for reasons. And unfortunately, there's all kinds of delays in the supply chain, which really suck. And I don't know if that's what is causing the shortage of this particular spirit, green chartreuse and yellow chartreuse. But and I think I actually did a video about how hard it was to find the first bottle that I got. And this was like months ago. I cannot find it anywhere in my county. Like, I had to check, like, there is not a single liquor store on Google that has green chartreuse in stock, and it is maddening. In fact, we went out to a couple of bars on Friday night, and we went out to a couple of bars last night, and nobody had green chartreuse. Not even the bars had the green chartreuse, and I'm so sad about it. I am so utterly sad about it because I had just recently discovered my favorite cocktail is the last word, and it requires green chartreuse. this I have like that much left in the bottle, and I made this drink, and I'm just like, I got a bottle of yellow chartreuse, and it's not bad. Like, it's a mellower, it's not as bitey, it's not as high alcohol content. It's honey. It's kind of like a more honey flavor, and it's got a little more anise flavor, and I hate licorice. But yellow chartreuse does work in a last word cocktail. I would just recommend adding a little more lime juice, a little more acidity to it to help kind of cut through all that sweetness. But I am hoarding. I am very, very, very carefully, being very careful with that very little green chartreuse that I have left. Now I can order it online. In fact, I found a place and they have an app. I think it's called like Pikes, and it's like a liquor store up in New York. Yeah, Pikes Wine and Liquor. And they have an app. Ooh, I just closed it. I was going to show you the app. Nope. And they have an app where I can, in fact, purchase green chartreuse. It is a $30 shipping fee. So, I mean, green chartreuse is already freaking expensive. It's like $70. And then it's going to be another $30 to have it shipped. So I will be paying $100 to ship a bottle of liquor to me because I can't find it here in the state. And to be honest with you, I might do it. It's so good. And I need it. I don't need it. I absolutely don't need it. I don't need any kind of alcohol or substance. I think that was just water. I don't think that was alcohol. It's okay. To get by in life, but it's so tasty, and I really, 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 I really love it. And I might do it. I might spend the $100 to get a bottle shipped to me, and hopefully, in the time that happens, this issue resolves itself. But I guess it's not just in Florida. I guess it's all over the United States where people are seeing shortages of certain types of liquor. How's the car? The car is fabulous. I haven't done anything new to it. I do plan at some point on getting a big old wang to go on the back wing, spoiler, if you will. But I haven't made the move. I think what I'm going to do this year is I'm going to just focus on saving some money. Last year I spent a shit ton of money on stupid shit. Because my motto, like last year, was like treat yourself. So I did, and now I'm trying to kind of tone it down a little bit. And if I am going to be spending money, I want it to be spent on experiences rather than like material things. So, going on vacation, going windsurfing, getting my carry permit. Although that's not really a fun experience per se. It will make me feel better after I get it, but so that kind of thing. So probably not going to get the spoiler this year. I'll probably wait until next year. And next year, I think I'm also going to repaint the Jeep because it is in dire need of something. It's a 2001, so it's 21 years. It'll be 22 years old next year, old enough to drink. So it needs, and the paint job is original to the car, so she needs help. She needs some tender love and care. And I'm thinking what I'm probably going to do is I'm probably just going to rhino coat the entire thing. But if you guys don't know what rhino coating is, look it up. It is, if you ever see truck beds, rhino coating is what is on a truck bed, and it is almost indestructible. It's UV resistant, it's scratch resistant, it's so easy to clean. And since that Jeep just sits outside in the Florida sun all day long, it needs it. And it'll look really cool. It's kind of like a textured kind of like matte. And I've seen entire cars rhino coated, and it actually, like, depending on the car, it can look really cool. I'm hoping that's what it'll look on my Jeep, but really the primary reason I'm getting rhino coating is for maintenance, because I literally have to do nothing. I don't have to wax it. I don't care if it sits out in the sun. All I have to do to wash it is just take a hose and just rinse it. So I'm looking forward to that. Problem is, it's very expensive. It's like $5,000. It's like $5,000 to have it done. So I'll be saving up. I might not have enough money to get it next year. But that is my ultimate goal for the Jeep. So, oh my God, I cannot. Yeah, New Orleans. I believe New Orleans. It is one of the most haunted cities according to the powers that be in the United States. And I wanted it to be on the road trip where we went to the St. Augustine and Charleston and Savannah, but we would have had to basically do like a triangle if we wanted to do that, and we just didn't have enough time. But definitely want to go to New Orleans. I would love, and like just spend like an entire week there, so I have time to just explore all the nooks and crannies and like go into all the cool shops and like eat beignets until my belly explodes, and drink delicious coffee with chicory in it. And the food. Oh, I can't wait. I cannot wait. I hope it happens this year. We're gonna, fingers crossed, we're gonna try and make it happen. Hell, Sean, you want to send me a bottle of the green chartreuse, dude? I'll pay for it. I think it is legal. I think you can. Florida, I know certain states, it is illegal to ship to or from alcohol. But I don't think that's the case in Florida. I think in Florida, you can ship alcohol and you can receive shipments of alcohol. And I was just kidding. I do not buy me a bottle of green chartreuse. I will buy it myself, but I appreciate it. But yeah. Anyway. Ugh. Oh God, jeez. Did you guys hear that? That was like 5 different vertebrae. Anyway, I think that's about all I got. I'm sorry that it was such a heavy thing, heavy stuff that we were talking about today. But you know, it's a heavy time. Um, Next week, what is next week? What's happening? Next week I'm going on my windsurfing, second windsurfing. This is my second windsurfing class that I'm really excited about. I get to talk about that. And I did make some new TikToks. They are about this subject, and I do anticipate losing a shit ton of followers because of it. But you know what? At this point, I'm just like, you know what? If you don't believe in my right to have bodily autonomy, then go fuck yourself. That's where I'm at right now. You know, like my entire TikTok account was made in order to like make people happy and laugh and very lighthearted and shit like that. And like at this point, it's really hard to continue to maintain that in light of what's happening. And I'm not going to sit here and like cater to people who think it's okay for me to think it's okay for me to be a second class citizen. Like if you think that, like, go fuck yourself. I don't care if you follow me or not. So I'll be posting those videos. I think they turned out pretty cool. And I did do a bunch more. I'm pulling up on my phone. Photo shoots. So and I posted a kind of a teaser on Patreon. That photo shoot I thought turned out really cool. And then I'll show you guys. Let's get one that's not gross looking. Okay. So I did a makeup look this morning and I did a photo shoot on it. And this is unedited. No editing, no lighting, so be gentle. So I'll be editing those tonight, maybe tomorrow, and I'll post those at some point. And then I did this makeup look, which I will also be posting to Instagram at some point. So, and of course to Patreon for you guys. Yeah, I am long past due for updating the merch store. I might reach out to a couple of the artists that did a couple of the designs for the t-shirts to have them do a couple more designs. And I'll do some more posters. If you guys want to see anything in the thanks, David. If you guys want to see anything in the merch store, like if you want, I know that Teespring has updated some of the merchandise that we can now create. So if there's anything that you guys want, like more t-shirts, hoodies, drinking vessels, posters, anything like that, let me know. If they've got it, I will do it for you. And if you guys have any idea of like again, like content, let me know. I'm always open for new ideas. Yeah, and I think that about does it. Oh, one last thing. We are going to a Comic-Con in July, mid-July. I'll take y'all with me. I think I'm going to dress up as Tess. And then I have already reserved rooms at the Orlando World Marriott Center for Holiday Matsuri in December. And I am so excited about that. I'll take you guys along with me to that too. I can't wait. That'll be a lot of fun. But until then, have a safe, if you guys are celebrating the 4th of July tomorrow, I know, David, you probably aren't because we're just a bunch of traitors. But if you are, please be safe, have fun, drink responsibly, and I'll catch you guys next week.